Hey guys, today I have got an important play for you. It's The Boy Comes Home, written by A. Milne. It's a light comedy which throws light on the generation gap. I'm going to tell you the detailed summary of the play. First, let me introduce the characters of the play. Philip is the central character of the play. He returns home after fighting a war for 4 years. Aunt Emily is the next character. She is the aunt of Philip. Uncle James is another character. He is Philip's uncle. Mary is the housemaid and Mrs. Higgins is a cook at Philip's house. Let's start the summary. Philip rings the bell in the morning room and asks Mary for breakfast as she comes in. He asks her to boil eggs and make tea. She says she doesn't know what Mrs. Higgins will say. She adds it's a rule to take breakfast right at 8 o'clock as it was before he left for war. Mary leaves and Emily enters. Emily bids Philip good morning. She asks him about breakfast. She says that people in army get up early. He replies they wake up late when they are away. He says that he used to think that a time would come in his life that wouldn't give the habit of getting up early any chance. He talks about James' business. Emily says she doesn't know much about it, but once he talked about excess profits tax. Higgins comes in. She is very angry as she's been asked for breakfast. She says breakfast is at 8 o'clock. It's always been since she came here and it will always remain so until she gets further orders. Philip says she has got further orders and orders her to bring 2 eggs and a ham if there is any. She feels insulted and gives a month's notice. Philip writes a check, gives it to her and asks her to leave at once. Higgins gets shocked and says who talked about going. He repeats the order and she leaves speechless. James arrives. Now James and Emily are on the stage while Philip takes his breakfast in another room. Emily asks James what he is going to talk to Philip about. He says that he will tell him to come into his business. At 25 he can have his money and do whatever he wants with it. She asks him to be polite to him as he is not the same boy now as he used to be before war. She says that he must have learned something. James says that they have taught him how a revolver goes off and about bombs, but these things don't help in after-war conditions. James asks Emily to ask Philip, who is taking breakfast, to come soon to talk to him. James sits down near fire. He says he doesn't like to waste the day sitting there. He opens the paper. Emily leaves. James falls asleep in the chair. In his sleep, James sees a dream. He sees Philip coming in the dream. He says he is 2 hours late. Philip says he can call it 2 hours late or 22 hours early for tomorrow. Philip sits and lights his pipe. James says to Philip that he should have asked his aunt for permission to smoke. He asks for permission and gets permission. Then James says that he expects punctuality, civility and respect from him as long as he lives in his house. Philip wants to live somewhere else and asks him for allowance until he gets into his money and asks him to give his money now. James tells him that he will come into his money when he is 25. Philip tells him a story of his bravery. James asks him to talk about practical life and tells him to join his business. Philip wants to become an architect, but in James' opinion, it is too late. Philip asserts that he can't be treated like a schoolboy and refuses to join his business. James says that he won't allow any rudeness from an impertinent young puppy and then turns to his paper as if the conversation were over. Philip takes out his revolver and terrifies James. Philip tells him it has killed almost 20 Germans. James shouts at him and demands him to put the unloaded revolver down. Philip says that the revolver is loaded. Having been fully scared, James becomes polite and says, "Put him down, sir." James orders Philip to come to the office tomorrow at 9 o'clock and to be punctual as he turns to go. Philip speaks in his prayed voice and tells him to sit down. James says that he settles his arguments by force. Philip argues that James used the force of money to make him do what he wants, and now he is using force to stop his force of money. Philip takes out a bomb. James gets alarmed and requests him to put it down at once. James asks him what he wants him to do. Philip asks James to be reasonable. James tells him that he can't be controlled. Philip takes aim and starts counting. James sits on his knees and lifts up his hands, asking him about his terms. Philip picks him up and helps him into the chair. Philip says that he will let him know about his terms and asks him to first make himself comfortable in front of the fire. He gives himself the paper and leaves. The dream ends here. The dream leaves a deep effect on James, who treats Philip in totally a different way in the real situation. Philip arrives with his mouth full of food. Philip says he is very late. James remarks it's okay. Philip takes out a pipe and asks if it's allowed. James permits him to smoke the pipe. James questions him about the profession he has chosen, but he has not chosen any profession. Philip agrees to join James' business gladly when asked. James offers him holiday, but Philip refuses to take a holiday, as it is a holiday for him to be in London. James says he'll introduce him to Mr. Bamford, the manager, and says he'll be delighted to see him. Philip says that he should take his revolver in case he isn't delighted to see him. James laughs heartily. Both leave and James wonders whether the dream he saw was really a dream. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. Goodbye.